Good morning. I thought I'd do a live on the topic of pranic living. Some of you might know that for the last year and a half I've been transitioning to living off prana. And if you have no idea what that means, there are two other terms which are often used, which are kind of linked. Breatharianism, so people that are exchanging the food and energy, the nutrition, by not eating and not drinking, but exchanging it with use of breathwork. You also have sun gazers, people who exchange it with looking at the sun. Now, I think it was 2.5 years ago that I heard about sun gazing, and I thought I'd try it, but here in Holland we really have very little sun, so it didn't work for me. Now, a little over a year and a half ago, I heard about this third option called Pranic Living, where there's no need to exchange food or your nutrition for something else like breathwork or looking into the sun, but actually your cells are transformed into being able to get their energy, get prana, life force energy, into your cells directly. Now, of course, this sounds a bit weird and maybe incredible, but the first time I heard it, and I've had this a few times in my life, I heard this inner voice coming up very strongly, and it said in a very relaxed way, like, oh yeah, I can do that too. And then my mind came in, it's like, well, not really. You eat a lot and you drink extreme amounts of water every day. But when I hear that voice, I usually know that I need to listen to it. So I found a teacher nearby who helped me out, and for 1 week I spent with him doing Immersive. And in this week, the cells were reprogrammed to their original cells, which means that our first cells, when we have the sperm going to the egg and an embryo is created, then there is something that doesn't have yet a digestive system, but at the same time it's able to get energy from the outside in the uterus. So there is this ability of our cells to draw energy from the outside and as a result grow from it. Now, over time we've been conditioned to not be able to do this and require food for our nutrition. But in this week, with a lot of breath work, a lot of cleansing and reprogramming of the cells, every time a cell regenerates, and some cells go very fast. I hear something along the lines of in every 2 months your eyes get totally regenerated, and other parts of your body, maybe your spine, the bones, the marrow, it takes quite longer, like a year or something. But every year, every part, every cell of your body is regenerated. And in this week, they were reprogrammed to go to their original cell, which isn't based on the self-imposed or society-imposed or life-imposed, whatever you want to call it, limitation of requiring food for your nutrition. So it is very interesting. In the year following from that week, every time I would feel that certain emotions and certain problems in the outside world would arise, and they were intrinsically linked to letting go of certain conditioning that was stored up into the cells. And so this, especially the first year, is a year with a lot of turmoil. But it's very interesting because you let go of conditioning and therefore are able to also let go of the conditioning of requiring food. Nowadays, if I want to give it a number, I'd say for a long time I thought it was transitioned to about 80% because I didn't eat during the week and only in the weekends, and then even less than normal. But now I feel that longer periods are possible. Last month I did 10 days of not eating. I still drink some water. I feel I need to separate these two elements, food and water, and drink a bit. So the water part is going slower than the food, but it's just a matter of time before everything drops away and there's food freedom. Because that's a very important thing. It's not food negation. It's not that I don't want to eat anymore, but it is the ability to no longer have to eat for my nutrition. And I was asked a few months ago, why would you want to live off prana? And then the idea came to mind, the comparison of a love relationship. If you're in a love relationship and two people, or one of the two or both, need the other person for their happiness, it is doomed to fail. There's this clingy behavior that the other one just wants to get rid of, and as a result, this love relationship is more like a love-hate relationship. Similarly, we have an addiction to food. We need it for our survival until it becomes clear that this is no longer necessary. Now, this is not something you should suddenly start to do and try without any help from someone who has done this for a long time. The person who I learned this from was Brahman Manor. He has a Dutch channel, but he's also going to give different retreats in English. So if you're interested in this subject, I highly recommend that you get in contact with him, look him up, and I will put a link in the description. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. It has been an interesting year and a half to see what is happening when you let go of all the conditioning. And it's not just conditioning about food, but also the conditioning about all sorts of things we have. This is a cleansing method to let go of all this karmic residue. I feel also it's necessary to tell what other kind of benefits arise from living off prana. Of course, a lot of time. I have at least 3 hours per day extra when I don't need to eat, I don't need to shop, and I don't need to clean the dishes. I have less need for sleep, so I sleep like an hour less, and the person who I learned this from, he only needs to sleep for an hour and a half per day. It's quite bizarre. I'm not there yet. Maybe that will change in the future also. But more importantly is that you're extremely clear throughout the day. There's like a mist in front of your eyes that clears up when you start living off prana. And people around you notice it also. Especially when I walk in a park, a lot of dogs and a lot of dogs run up, and children start staring for longer periods, or people just come up to have a talk. This is just because your energy, your vibration is much more relaxed. It's less head dominated, less stressful than we're used to. And when you let go of this food and the vibration that food brings to your system, you are rising to the level of prana, which is just results in a more lighter way of living. I highly recommend it if this is something that resonates with you. And as I said, please contact me or send a message to my teacher, Brahma Manor. Have a great day.